Welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Trans with your hosts Gabe and Leo. This is a show that supports the LGBTQ+ community as a whole while focusing on the lives, struggle, and achievements of transgender people. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hey, we're here tonight. It's a fabulous Wednesday.
I wouldn't say fabulous.
You wouldn't say fabulous. Well, all right.
Especially with the storm coming.
A storm is coming. We're looking forward to it. There might be no school or no work on Friday. But anyway, thank you for joining us on this next episode of Let's Talk Trans. We were going to talk about a couple of things. Tonight, what did I want to talk about? I wanted to hit more on gender dysphoria. I kind of had a self-epiphany, I guess, an apostrophe, an apothecary, one of those things tonight. And but Leo wanted to talk about something that Leo felt was more important, so I yield the floor to Leo.
I wanted to talk about the current struggle with transgender individuals who are starting their transition medically.
So you're talking about, let's get this. There is, for a lot of people here in the United States, and I'm going to assume in other countries as well, but what we know here in the United States, there is often a problem, not necessarily with medical services, but accessibility to medical services. And primarily, as you've experienced, with minors. Yeah. And
this is coming from my experience and a rather close friend of mine's experience.
Okay. So, when you say that, when somebody, listens to our podcast tonight, what do you want them to get from this?
I don't know. I just wanted to talk about this situation and rant about it because it has made me rather upset.
Okay, so it's a rant session.
Yeah.
All right. So my thing is, I think I want people to be aware, and most people are aware of the difficulty. So let's say that one thing we would like people to be able to walk away from with this session is the understanding that just because one person says no doesn't mean you give up. If it's something you really truly want and something you really truly believe in, and gender dysphoria is something you really truly struggle with, then don't let one doctor or one parent or one individual shake you from that.
Yeah. So
this is, while it's Leo's rant, it's going to be Gabriel's motivational pep talk. We'll see how well that goes.
Be the sane one during this.
I will.
Because I'll be the angry one.
Okay, you be the angry one, I'll be... You know what, this is... Oh, I got it! What? Oh, this is... You're gonna like this.
I'm not.
It's a good trans, bad trans. You get to be the bad cop, I'll be the good cop.
I'm gonna be the bad cop, alright.
Alright, go ahead.
So, one of my friends recently... one of my older friends...
By older, you mean?
He's about a year older than I am.
Okay, so let's say, we're still talking mid-teens, though.
Yeah.
Beyond the age of HIPAA, which everybody knows is the age of 14, but not quite the age of adulthood. Okay.
So, he went in recently to start testosterone, to talk to a doctor to go on testosterone. He was my intro to transgender individuals. And it surprised me to hear that he was going in for testosterone, because I thought he had already been on testosterone. He had been training his voice to be deeper, and he's always just been freakishly tall.
Okay.
So he just passed for me.
Okay.
Even without testosterone. So he went in.
Yeah.
And the doctor denied him. Denied him access to hormones.
Okay.
But put him on blockers, from what I've gathered, from what he has told me. And he was rather upset about that, because the doctor had said that the doctor was not going to give him testosterone to make him happy.
didn't the doctor, and I know a little bit about this situation because, again, we talked about it.
Yeah.
It was not a car ride conversation.
It was not a car ride conversation. It was you got home and I needed to rant.
You needed to offload a little bit. Didn't the doctor tell him that he had to be a certain age? That it was like the medical facility's policy that he be a certain age.
Yeah. When
we know in fact,
because we
use the same medical and we know in fact that this kid is actually of age, but the doctor lied.
Yeah.
And we talked about that maybe the fact behind that was that the parent was in the room and perhaps the parent is transphobic.
I have the suspicion that she is.
Okay.
But this is the first time that she's done something like this, if she has had any involvement in it.
Okay. So it's not like, so this friend, okay, gets shot down for testosterone therapy, but is put on a blocker.
Yeah, which I find weird.
Okay, so we're stopping the estrogen, but not putting anything in its place.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm not a medical professional. I do know that, just from my own experience, that when you stop estrogen, that the bone density in the human body starts to break down. Just like I said, as an older female, like when a woman goes through menopause or whatever have you, and the estrogen, or has a hysterectomy, when the estrogen comes out, we need to replace it because bone density changes. Lots of things begin to change. So this just seems to me like this is almost medically dangerous to like pull out one hormone and then not replace it with something else.
Yeah, and on top of this doctor did the gonna call it the gender dysphoria test. Basically. Yeah,
but not a psychologist.
Not a psychologist.
Like an MD.
The doctor did it himself.
Yeah.
And it was the stereotypical questions of, like, did you wear dresses as a kid? Did you play with dolls as a kid? Like, those weird questions.
Again, I'm not a medical professional. You had to go through a psychologist or a psychiatrist. You had to go through a counselor.
Yeah.
I went through a psychologist. These are people who are trained mental health professionals. And I realize you don't know this, but this is probably an MD. And I'm not gonna. I don't think you remember the name of the doctor or whatever. It's not like we could look him up technically because we're all in the same network.
Yeah.
But if this is just an MD, then this doctor really, I'm going to say this very crassly, but he's kind of talking out of his hiney hole. And doesn't know his hiney hole from his elbow, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I can definitely see, where this would be not only frustrating for this young person, but as a friend who knows that it's BS.
Yeah.
That's got to be rough for you too. So how did you comfort your friend on this one?
I did. I comforted him, gave him the information I knew, went to you, gave him the information that you gave me.
Right, I gave you my psychologist's information.
Yeah. And that is the last I have heard about this situation.
All right.
Because it did only happen 2 days ago.
Now, kind of in retrospect, for whatever reason, and we haven't really determined this, but here in NEPA where we're at, and most of the transgender hormone therapists, medical prescribing doctors that we're hearing about are leaving the area.
Yeah.
And we haven't been able to figure out why, but this kind of continues to cement this fact that a lot of transgender people are having, and that's accessibility. I don't think there's a day that goes by where I don't see on one Facebook page or another where someone's having difficulty accessing healthcare.
Yeah.
And it's not for lack of insurance, it's not for lack of trying, it's for lack of options.
Yeah.
And
even with the current options out there, being pushed back so far.
Right. And I had that problem. I had that problem when I came out. You came out in August. You started testosterone in August.
Yeah.
And it was probably September when I decided that I was going to go on it. But I didn't actually get an appointment with a doctor until November.
Yeah. And you remember the whole issue with them trying to make my testosterone doctor my primary.
Yeah. Which that I understood, because that might just be the way that their network worked and they didn't really understand. And again, some of this has to do with COVID.
Yeah. Because,
again, we were talking about the fact that, the goal in this medical network was to
get more doctors in.
Get more doctors trained. And it was supposed to be one doctor for every facility, but then COVID hit and the training stopped.
Yeah.
And now we have none. I mean, the closest one is 2 hours away, which isn't astronomical.
Yeah.
2-hour drive is a 2-hour drive. But for somebody who might not have accessibility to money, cars, 2 hours to take off of work or school.
Yeah.
It's
a lot.
Yeah. And part of me goes, well, that's just the medical system, and the world is trying to play catch up.
Mm-hmm.
Another part of me wants to go, well, that is a political ploy to keep transgender people from outing as transgender people.
Yeah. But you can't know.
No, and you can't know which one is which. And excuse me, I'm trying to drink more water, so I got some water here with me to make sure that I do. And that's part of what I wanted to talk about tonight, which is kind of, like I said, my epiphany. But, like you said, this isn't, I don't think that this is just limited to our little corner of the world. I can't be. Not with as much of it as I see online.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if it's not, I want to reiterate to people that I understand that hormone therapy is part of the transition for a lot of us. That we choose to go that route. But I want to emphasize that hormone therapy is not a necessary route. Mm-hmm. And I say that very, very carefully because there's going to be people who are go, well, if I don't have testosterone or if I don't have estrogen, I'm not a... And please remember this, that, yes, I'm biased. I am on testosterone. Leo is on testosterone. Mm-hmm. But it would still be Leo and it would still be Gabe, whether we had testosterone in us or not.
Yeah. The customer service voice would be worse, though.
Oh, my God, yeah.
I remember, and I'm going to go off topic for a little bit.
No, not off topic, because that's not what we do in any way, shape, or form.
I remember coming out, and this was before I had started testosterone, and walking down to visit one of my friends. Mm-hmm. And I was walking down that weird alley, and this old guy says, "Hey, how you doing?" Because people are just nice and weird that way. In this town.
Yeah, it's a nice little town.
And I look over, and the customer service voice, I go, "Going good, how's your day?" It threw that old man off so much that he hasn't spoken to me every time I walk down that alleyway. He just stares at me, confused.
So what's the customer service voice?
I can't do it anymore.
Oh, no?
I can't. I physically cannot. It hurts.
It hurts. It just cracks or something like that? It's a little high?
Think about, Siri and Amazon Alexa mixed together.
Oh, that's gross.
And that's the customer service voice.
Okay, fair enough. But like I said, and you're right, but those are still transgender women have to train their voice.
Yeah.
Transgender men don't necessarily, but can. Mm-hmm. So, some of us want it deeper long before the testosterone. And if I really want my voice deep, I can make my voice deep, but I don't have to. Mm-hmm. That's my radio voice. Yes, welcome to Talk Radio. Anyway.
My friend has been training his voice for 2 years now.
Yeah.
When I first heard him, I was like, wait, is that...
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, testosterone is a fabulous, or estrogen